वो Google search नहीं कर सकता है, right? You search something, it gives you whatever is available to everybody for free.
Barely like 1 month out of Google, now you're able to like point out what Google can't do.
So where will money be made outside of ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and these?
Yeah, I think पहले हम लोग बोलते हैं ना कि $1 million question है.
The reality is that the more expertise you wanted, the harder it was to find the expert. सबसे बड़ा risk लोगों को लगता है कि LLMs hallucinate. How can you prove कि doctors don't hallucinate? The science is already showing कि systems can help find things which doctors missed.
So with the power of LLMs, I think companies can become highly efficient. There is so much hype and excitement about AI, so much investment coming in. We have seen multi-trillion-dollar companies may fade, in comparison to what these guys will make. We'll talk to GPT and maybe we'll bring one question from GPT. Let's try. Peeyush, welcome back. I think
Thank you.
we talked about 18 months ago, I think right after that longevity biohacking conference. And looks like since then, the stock of biohacking is probably not going that well, but the stock of AI has just taken off. It was last year, it was something's happening every month. I think it's early this year, it became something's happening every week. Now it's happening literally, every day.
Every day.
I was just on LinkedIn looking at a recent post. You're making a very strong case that AI is going to pretty much replace or augment pretty much all kind of expertise in the world. Is this like getting to that level of conviction?
Well, I mean, उस पे लिख तो दिया है, लेकिन the basic and opinions are easy, right? तो लिखने में problem नहीं है. I've just gone and said it, but हो क्या रहा है कि like if you look at it, पहले like क्या होता था कि like if you have a question, I have some sort of symptoms, you'll go do Google search and you'll find some result and then you'll try to match it with क्या symptoms है, मुझे क्या है, and then you'll get really scared because you'll feel you have cancer and then you'll be like, okay, all right, I'll go to a doctor. But the reality is that the more expertise you wanted, the harder it was to find the expert. I mean, हम लोग healthcare का example ले, then people actually from towns, they keep going to like more and more super specialized person, and then there's this doctor who like the whole country throngs to go meet. That thing becomes smaller, accessibility becomes lesser, the cost becomes higher. It's expensive to see those experts. But on the other hand, they will personalize that completely to what actually is going on with you. वो Google search नहीं कर सकता है, right? You search something, it gives you whatever is available to everybody for free. So there's a continuum.
You barely like 1 month out of Google, now you're able to like point out what Google can't do.
No. Not that way. I mean, the beauty of Google is that I should actually explain because I've worked there for I joined that 19 years ago. Beauty is that you can talk about it while you're inside also, because it's like, how else do you improve the place, right? So उसमें क्या होता है कि like if you simply wanted information, there's generic information, you search it, it's for free. That was the promise of web search and internet and everything. And expertise is expensive, but it's highly personalized to you. What that says is very different from what it says to somebody else, and is hard to get.
Is it almost fair to say that it was maybe other than some YouTube videos, expertise was very expensive? There was no way until even 2 years ago to get access to expert unless you literally book a time with a human being. कि आप पैसे पे करोगे, expert से time book करोगे, only then you get expert opinion. But AI is like changing that.
Yeah, exactly. तो उसमें बीच में there was some sort of solutions which are fitting in. कि भाई there are like hotlines, nurse hotline में आप phone कर रहे हो. Lawyers are there. You can just email.
Quora tried question answer.
But personalization उसमें भी उतना नहीं होता था because there's a limited amount of time. The access improves, but I think there's a gradient. कि आप या तो completely generic advice लो, तो free में मिल जाएगा. या आपको highly personalized advice चाहिए, एकदम completely tailored to your needs with deep engagement, तो आपको expensive लगेगा. And बीच में there were things filling. LLM क्या कर रहा है? Like AI has come in and has gotten, and it's kind of eating the whole thing. So it's improving both of these axes. नीचे अगर आप जाइए तो this is where the like the Google search is improving. If you see AI mode आ गया है, ChatGPT also of course is doing कि आप जब multi turn conversation करते हो तो उसमें obviously you keep personalizing. You ask follow on questions and all that, and LLM is able to give you a lot better. Especially अब जो tools आ गए हैं जैसे search and deep research के साथ साथ, it's able to give you a lot better information which slowly is starting to get personalized to you. तो एक वो है. Still free to you, more expensive than running a simple search, but free to you through, or maybe not free depending on the subscription you have. Or top mein, what is actually happening, and this is what the post was about, ki what is happening is ki the access to that kind of doctor or the lawyer or any other expert was hard. And that lot of startups are actually going in that space. वो क्या कर रहे हैं कि they are saying, ठीक है, these foundational models are there. But let me understand what exactly happens in this domain. And let me go and codify that. And that is going to take not just the expertise or the knowledge, but also how exactly does the workflow and what is the domain knowledge of that. Usko dal ke, and then they create an application. And that will, in my view, get closer to the real world expert and at the same time be a lot cheaper.
तो लेट्स इसको ब्रेक डाउन करते हैं कि किस किस तरह के एक्सपर्टीज में अप्लाई हो सकता है. लाइक बोथ ऑफ अस आई थिंक वेंट थ्रू जेईई सिस्टम इन 90s. तो उस वक्त हर शहर में एक फेमस मैथ का फिजिक्स का टीचर होता था कि इनके पास जाना जरूरी है. तो वो अभी ऐसे रिप्लेस सोचता है लेकिन इफ आई एम अ 9th grader कैन आई जस्ट हैव जीपीटी बी माय. हरिद्वार हम लोग के लिए मनोहर लाल हुआ करते थे, मतलब तो उनसे मैथ पढ़ना होता था अगर जेईई में जाने. तो अभी वो कर सकते हैं जीपीटी से.
हाँ, मतलब सीधा वैसे तो नहीं कर सकते हैं. I mean, GPT, Gemini, Claude, all of these are getting better at solving math. उनके तो benchmarks भी हैं, but they keep doing. But जो teacher है, and this is the example, कि अगर आपको problem solve करना है, तो it is great. It will solve the problem for you. And if you have to ask some follow-on question, maybe it will answer that कि ऐसे क्यों हुआ. But that's not what a teacher is. तो ये जब high expertise में होता है कि the best teachers, they have a series of other characteristics in them. और वो characteristics अगर आप समझ जाइए, and if you are able to encode that in the system, और वही एक startup हो जाएगा कि and the better you do that, the better you can. अगर वो solve हो गया, then yes, answer is yes. And then उसके बाद क्या है कि जो भी top teacher हैं, उनकी classroom क्या 30 लोग होते होंगे per hour. There's a limit to how much they can do. उसमें भी उस जो 5-10 बच्चे अच्छा कर रहे हैं, those are the ones they will remember. But ये है हर एक के लिए that is the best teacher. So that is the thing.
फिजिक्स वाला कोर्स की याद आ रही है. अभी जो भी रिसेंटली बहुत पॉपुलर हो गया है उसमें अलग पांडे, तो उनकी काफी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टाइल है. मतलब फिजिक्स तो बहुत बड़े पढ़ाते हैं बट साथ में शायरी करते हैं, जोक सुनाते हैं, बच्चों को एंटरटेन करते हैं. And kids love it. Is that what you mean by higher level skills, like one of those?
Maybe that is a very good example that the proof is in the pudding. क्योंकि अगर आप LLM से शुरू कीजिए, then unless you go in the domain, you will never think कि that is what matters, right? Now that you see that works, there's a little bit of research required कि well, why exactly is this working? What else? US में भी एक बहुत बड़ा शुरू हुआ था कि the kids were not interested in school and all that. उसके बाद YouTube पे rap battles started. Rap battles about history. The historical figures आके एक दूसरे के साथ rapping कर रहे थे, and it took off like crazy. Kids learned history through that.
About history. Yeah, my son loves history. Maybe I should.
Yeah. So the thing is, but that is the point. It was speaking to the kids, और उससे उनका engagement बढ़ा. They learned things. So maybe there is something here. I mean, we haven't done all the research, but the thesis is that it is more than the chatbot. There is a whole domain which you have to understand. What does it take to be a good teacher? What does it take to be a good doctor? What does it take to be a good lawyer? And it is not just about knowing the law books. It's not just about knowing the health thing, or not just about knowing the pedagogy or the content. What those table stakes are. You have to do that. Uske bina to, what is the point of a great teacher who can do shairi and not really explain physics, right? So वो तो जरूरी है, but you need these other things. वही domain में आता है.
What about other expertise? Let's say medical के लिए, like how reliable are these systems? If I'm having some symptoms or I'm generally medical में होता था कि आपको second opinion लेना पड़ेगा, which complicated to third opinion, and usually डिफरेंट डॉक्टर्स डिफरेंट बोलते हैं. कोई बोलता है सर्जरी करा लो, कोई बोलता है सर्जरी की ज़रूरत नहीं है. इंडिया में तो और भी वैरायटी है, आयुर्वेदिक करा लो, होम्योपैथिक कर लो एंड ऑल दैट. तो कैन पीपल रियली ट्रस्ट? फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इज इट अ इंडिस्पेंसिबल टूल कि आपको एलएलएम से एक बार तो पूछ ही लेना चाहिए, सो विल गेट सम इनपुट एंड देन फैक्टर सिक्स्थ ओपिनियन यहाँ से भी ले लो बिफोर यू डिसाइड की करना है.
एक्चुअली ये तो दिस इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक. मैं अपना पर्सनल ओपिनियन इस पे बता सकता हूँ कि क्या है. आई थिंक कि वेल सबसे बड़ा रिस्क लोगों को लगता है कि LLMs hallucinate. तो आप कुछ पूछोगे समथिंग सो सीरियस एज अबाउट योर हेल्थ, और उसमें hallucination हुआ, who knows if it is accurate or not. मेरा ये सोचना है कि एक तो है कि there is enough investment. नॉन डिटर्मिनिस्टिक सिस्टम है, hallucination तो होगा ही. There is like papers which prove कि that is the way. But मेरा ये सोचना है कि how can you prove कि doctors don't hallucinate? Right? I mean, I had an injury once and one doctor thought I had broken a shoulder bone, and another thought I had tear in a rotator cuff. फिर उसके बाद more data was required and then the answer was given and the treatment plans were also different. तो ये सब तो होता ही रहता है, and that is why the first opinion, second opinion. But going back to the pyramid point, getting a world-class doctor is actually not even possible for majority of the people. And here, what it is saying is that this is hallucination, but if these things become good and you are able to get world-class, near world-class, top-of-the-class kind of answer for yourself, why not do that? Because it's not stopping you from going to the doctors you would go otherwise to, right? So ये चीज जो है ना, I think it's an indispensable thing. I will tell you, if I have something or like if anybody in family, so I first say, like, I sit down with the person, whether it's my mother-in-law or my spouse or myself, I'm like, let me take the patient history. जो नहीं होता patient history, जो like, ठीक है, आप patient layman terms में बताओ क्या हुआ, कोई blood report इस सब की जरूरत नहीं है, and take that comprehensive thing, make the ChatGPT or Gemini do a deep research first on this space. उससे क्या होता है कि it gets primed के अच्छे से. Then plop the patient history, and then have you seen Dr. House? The show?
I have not.
Dr. House is like this character, very famous character, जो differential diagnosis करता है और very hard to solve problems. तो मैं उसको बोलता हूँ कि okay, now ये सारा बता दिया, now do differential diagnosis, बताओ क्या सही है और क्यों है और क्या गलत है और क्या supporting evidence है, क्या negating evidence है. And then it comes out amazing report. Then I go to the doctor. Or like if they are, then I say, please share this with your doctor. And I have not seen any doctor come back and say, तुमने ऐसा क्यों किया? They all are like, oh, I learned new things, because they also have their own brain capacity and so many patients to deal with and all that. So I think it's a indispensable.
And is it like even doctors are probably recognizing the power of this tool? Can these things also become very strong doctors, teachers, lawyers, assistants, and help them do their job a lot better compared to what they were doing? Because पहले उनको मेमोरी से सब कुछ सोचना पड़ेगा, इतनी सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन, तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव काम करना पड़ता था. तो ऑल दैट फ्रॉम देयर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, ऑल्दो इवेंचुअली कितने लोगों की जरूरत पड़ेगी, दैट्स अदर टॉपिक. आई थिंक विल कम बैक टू दैट, बट इट्स प्रॉब्ली गोइंग टू हेल्प both patient and the doctor equally.
I absolutely agree. I mean, the science is already showing that systems can help find things which doctors have missed. Radiology में दिखाया है कि there are tumors which are smaller than what the doctor can do. It can pinpoint. They can help correct doctor's errors. And then there's obviously America is जगह में जहाँ पे there's a lot of paperwork for every dollar in hospitals. There's a lot of medical stuff which is going behind the scenes to make the doctor's life easier. एक risk जरूर है, and I don't think it's a risk only with doctors. ये चीज expertise में कहीं भी risk है. I am starting to see, and I'm sure you have seen, is कि there are people who are like, नहीं मुझे मालूम है कैसे करना है, right? And I think that those people will actually struggle, where they either don't believe or they have some reason to feel offended by something else correcting them, which is inanimate. And those are all, inefficiencies in the system. So eventually people who adopt it will actually do better, and hopefully in the long run, they will actually come out.
Say last 1 month, two kind of anecdotes which are very relevant to this. एक में somebody who was a parent in high school, तो मुझसे बात कर रहा था, और I shared कि both my kids very heavily use GPT. and this person kids also has been using GPT, but he was worried कि वो ज़्यादा GPT को यूज़ करने से पहले होता नहीं कैलकुलेटर यूज़ करोगे तो फिर मैथ खराब हो जाएगा, सेम वाला thought process. But after talking to him, this person started getting convinced. At some point he asked me like, so should I buy the pro version? उसके लिए $20 करीब $2,000 महीने लगेंगे. I said yeah, absolutely no brainer, if because pro version will give significantly more access to better models and all that. And kal I was talking to somebody who is a retired physics professor in his 70s. So almost similar conversation, 6 months पहले मैंने बात की थी तो he was skeptical कि वो बहुत गलती करते हैं all that. Now he was asking me should I buy a pro version? And again I said absolutely जरूर मतलब. And the context was his health issue. So he was saying कि health में ये वो है, डॉक्टर ही बोल रहा है. So I asked him कि आपने GPT से पूछा है कि what is GPT saying? And he's saying no, I don't know. But again, talking to me, he got convinced, and so people are already thinking of making the space of $2,000 per mahina is not it's not cheap by any means, but people are like around us actively considering, and this is with current state of GPTs. और वो अगले I don't know साल बोलना चाहिए या महीने बोलना चाहिए, काफी तेज से बढ़ रहा है, तो it will become a utility that pretty much everyone will need to have access to.
Yeah, well, I have a question for you. This utility में, like, see what example you gave. उसमें क्या हो रहा है कि like the model was there, and some people were talking to it about certain things. Some people thought कि नहीं इसका क्या है, it is making mistakes. उसकी capability बढ़ रही है, and adoption is also happening because people are like, no, this seems like it is working. अच्छा, capability बढ़ रही है, ज़्यादा लोग use कर रहे हैं. It also means कि there is it's taking out oxygen from above.
Yeah.
There are a lot of businesses which are out there which have built businesses on these platforms and applications above, and this thing is rising from the bottom. So where will money be made outside of ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and these?
Yeah, I think पहले हम लोग बोलते हैं ना ये $1 million question है, ये probably $1 trillion question है कि I mean I know we offline also we talk a lot about this and really trying to wrestle our head around this. We had this whole AI conference. I think abhi the answer एकदम clear नहीं है. First of all, these big LLMs will make insane amount of money. I think that is clear. It's last few years we have seen multi-trillion-dollar companies may fade, in comparison to what these guys will make. Because दुनिया में 5-6 मॉडल हैं, सबको उन्हीं के पास जाना है कुछ भी कर रही है, and we can see that they're becoming powerful, they're becoming indispensable, they are finding usage across all walks of life. So
yes,
that is given. उसके ऊपर दो तरह से देख सकते हैं, कंज्यूमर एंटरप्राइज. नाउ कंज्यूमर में बिग टेक इज ह्यूज एडवांटेज, उनका सारा डेटा है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है, डेली यूसेज का हैबिट है एंड सो ऑन, तो they will build a lot of services. Then what are those niches where someone can build a consumer oriented product where somewhere you are able to capture something about people's life in a very deep manner which horizontal platforms don't. And that's, I mean, just going back to your example of, in both in education and health, the health is not only about the getting an answer, you have prescriptions and diagnostic and your health history and so on, or psychological aspects to it. So putting it all together in the context of, let's say, particular type of how do you manage diabetes using, your LLM power, probably an example. I am personally more excited about enterprise because I really feel that companies will look very different. 5 years from now, they cannot look like how they look today. So today, one of the things, and both of us also seen together, maybe you might have seen in Google as well at a much larger scale, कि जैसे कंपनी बड़ी होती जाती है, काफी इनएफिशिएंट होती जाती है. You always feel कि जब कंपनी में 50 लोग थे तो कितनी जल्दी काम होता था. 500 हो गए तो और स्लो हो गए, 5000 हो गए तो पता ही नहीं चलता कि if you are a intern, you are frustrated. If you are a CEO, you are frustrated. और middle में इतने सारे paper pusher people will channel information. So with the power of LLMs, I think companies can become highly efficient. Like information flow very fast. Lot of administrative decisions can be just taken automatically. So, but companies are different. Each company has a different history. Company has very different workflow, process, compliance. तो उसको करने के लिए अगेन कंपनी के अंदर जाके काम करना पड़ेगा. प्रोसेस समझनी पड़ेंगी, करंट सिस्टम कौन से डिप्लॉयड है वो समझने पड़ेंगे. उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट के को यूज करके LLM को हाउ टू मेक LLM वर्क फॉर द कंपनी इज द जॉब. तो आई थिंक वहाँ पे बहुत सारे अपॉर्चुनिटी हैं. एंड देयर इंडिया हैज अ मैसिव IT सर्विस इंडस्ट्री एंड सो ऑन. सो आई थिंक उनके लिए काफी बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है, बट दे आल्सो नीड टू ट्रांसफॉर्म
तो
देमसेल्फ.
उनका भी वो भी बड़ी हो गई है, तो दे हैव देयर ओन चैलेंजेस एज अ रिजल्ट.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be their biggest disadvantage. They're too big to move very fast, and and make an early bet and disrupt. Like disrupting. India में तो मैंने नहीं देखा कि companies are saying कि I am going to disrupt myself. Like US में I think पिछले 20 से साल से लोगों ने सीख लिया है. Google has gone pretty good at it. Facebook pretty good at it. I think they bet on the next platform or acquire or do something, and not too many holy cows.
नहीं, actually दो तो I think Clayton Christensen का जो था इनोवेटर्स में, तो आंसर लिखा हुआ था, द ओनली ऑप्शन इज यू हैव टू डिसरप्ट योरसेल्फ, और कोई चॉइस है नहीं. बट साइकोलॉजिकली इट्स नॉट इजी. एंड वेरी वो क्या सेइंग है कि इफ योर जॉब डिपेंड्स ऑन इट, then you're gonna keep doing what is there, right? So like, how do people in the organization make a decision that takes change?
But a question I would love your opinion as well. They're asking कि उसमें पैसा कहाँ पे बनेगा, right? Beyond LLMs. There is so much hype and excitement about AI, so much investment coming in. I think the amount of investment, I don't think a lot is coming to India. If you look at in general in the past, like India was one of the top destinations in terms of dollar invested. AI में शायद उतना नहीं है. Like definitely proportionately, the center of gravity is definitely in Silicon Valley. Yeah. I don't know what are the other areas, but
Silicon Valley is where everything is. I mean, at least abhi to, but it's early days, right? I mean, अगर हम लोग को इतना, मतलब obviously rate of change is very high, but अगर सोचा जाए तो the first wave of excitement came in like December or so of 2023, right? Which is like what, 24, 20, so a year and a half ago. 18 months में, it has taken the world by storm, but ChatGPT launched around that time. तो अभी early years है. मतलब मेरा सोचना यह है कि one other thing which AI has done is AI is, the term, but it actually is about this large scale capability to deploy cognitive capabilities inside the application, right? Primarily driven by language, but visual and all that. But usme pehle kya tha na ki there was the prior techniques, a lot of expertise had been built in it. And people had gone and done a lot of things. But once the emergent capabilities of these models became obvious, कि कोई सोचा भी नहीं था कि that is the capability it will have. Once it became obvious, all the classical techniques people, they have to learn how to use this. And to me, that creates a level playing field for the whole world. हाँ, Silicon Valley में है. And of course, to be able to, in a stable manner, train a very large model is a non-trivial skill, and very few people in the world have that. But right after that, a lot of the ways to utilize that, actually, there were people who knew a lot of things like how to do dialogue management and whatnot. And ab kya hai ki, like, that expertise has been, the level playing field has been leveled, and people can learn these things super fast. So there's an opportunity in India. I mean, of course, it's early days. So I think that, we are working on building things, and I hope that a lot more people will do that too.
Yeah, I think few things are easy to agree on. Ki major disruption is upon us. Like things will change dramatically, or generally any disruption leads to a lot of winners and losers. Some winners are already obvious. If you are Anthropic or, Meta building Llama, or maybe even DeepSeek and Quen, these guys will be standing tall when the dust settles. But among everything else, I think there's so much economic activity which is going to change at dramatic scale. And large companies, we've always seen time and again, are generally not very good in adapting very fast. Some may, but large majority may not. And that creates opportunity for a lot of entrepreneurs. And hence, I think a lot of entrepreneurs are also rushing in. But first, we've also shown that the wrapper wale application, especially thin wrapper, they are not going to go anywhere. If people are not bringing something very unique to the table and solving something which is, either some kind of IP or deep domain knowledge, it's not going to add up. And the LLMs are moving much faster that you can build wrappers on top of those. So whatever you build will get consumed.
So let me ask you a question. There's a trade-off to have. What role does land grab distribution, the blitzscaling style, play compared to going deep and not being rapper,
Yeah.
right? So वो trade off कैसे होगा?
See, I started journey में एक चीज मैं सीखी है कि काफी टाइम से ना हम ये आइदर वाले क्वेश्चन फ्रेम करते हैं और आंसर होता है बोथ. तो एंड दैट्स व्हेन इट मेक्स योर हेड स्पिन. यार ये आइदर और पूछ रहा हूँ, बोथ कैसे आंसर हो सकता है? I'll give another, I'll come back to this, but in a different context. And I was working with a very large conglomerate, a few years ago. और वहाँ पे, with the head of the group also had the same thing कि, let's start the conversation कि profitability और growth दोनों करना है. If you come here to convince me कि ये कर सकते हैं, वो कर सकते हैं, तो this meeting is over. When you are ready to have the both conversation, because that's why you are a senior lead in the company. So unfortunately, but if you have to really press and trade off, I think especially in a B2C, land grab I think has a much more value, because land grab in some ways is how it's like almost think like your tentacles are spread far and wide. So you are absorbing so much data, context, and then when VC look at you that you have acquired so many 100,000 customers, they give you more money. But simultaneously you need to know that this is a temporary thing. This land grab without depth, ultimately I'll get wiped out. And we've seen a lot of companies. I don't know what are pretty much all the ed tech in India. They had a massive land grab in some ways, Baiju more than anyone else, but eventually did not have much depth to kind of last the game. So yeah, I think it's like you just can I land grab to get attention, data, and money, and you can use attention, data, and money to build IP.
So this is very interesting, क्योंकि पहले startups में क्या होता था कि you would say कि I am building this cool technology, and then I will get the technology and I will get some people, and then I will see how to expand the market because मेरे पास technology है, right? But this way, actually, it seems like AI is also flipping the whole thing on its head. You go grab land and don't be married to the technology you've built, because your technology, you can start with shallow and you keep rejecting and you keep refining and hold on to the market you have while improving your product, because ये नीचे से there is a groundswell happening of the model's capabilities. अब जैसे हम लोग देखते हैं कि like I mean, this is not an example of a land grab because the product was good even on day one, but Cursor is a great example. That code generation capabilities and definitely in the benchmarks and all the foundational models were very good already. But a product came along which actually now is being used by everybody. Is the category synonym, right? And it is very clear that it has not stayed where it has. As new models are coming, it's actually using those capabilities. पहले वो सिर्फ chat करता था, फिर उसके बाद फिर agentic, and now like it'll go into this Claude code के साथ integration कर लिया है. So like all of those things will continue to happen. And the product stays where it is. More and more people are using that. There is no reason for them to leave. It doesn't matter who, is doing what underneath.
Yeah, I think so. I think but they need to know that they are there, because a lot of people are launching competing product as well. And again, big tech has a lot of muscles. So if Cursors can't translate that into something, unique, which is going to be something, wait and watch. But since, you talk about Cursor, and a lot of engineers are increasingly relying on Cursor, Windsurf, and other code completion tools. जितना मेरे को दिख रहा है, almost लोग बोल रहे हैं 30-40% कोड ऑटो जनरेट हो जाता है. आई थिंक लास्ट ईयर लोग 10-20% बोल रहे थे. अभी वो नंबर 30-40 बढ़ ही रहा है.
हाँ, बढ़ ही रहा है.
And this is also super interesting, because in the past था कि this Mark Anderson's की software eating the world, कि सिलिकॉन वैली में इंजीनियर्स इनोवेट करते थे और कहीं और जाके जॉब डिस्टर्ब होता था. बट अभी जो इन्वेंट कर रहे हैं, जॉब सबसे पहले वहीं पर डिस्टर्ब हो रहा है. और इट्स नॉट जस्ट fear anymore. Like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, everything is reducing their staff by as much as 5-10%, and probably more to come, which is exciting, scary.
I think if you ask me, I think it's a good thing. क्योंकि आप पहले का एग्जांपल अगर लिया जाए कि आप कुछ करते थे और जॉब कहीं और डिस्टर्ब रहता था, क्या हो क्या रहा था? आपने वहां की इनएफिशिएंसी को यहाँ पे एफिशिएंट बना दिया. That's exactly the thing which is happening.
Hmm.
कि अगर आप देख भी लो, in all honesty, in the past since Y2K, 25 years, the software industry people have been making money like movie stars, whereas it is not always that the work has been super, high class.
We started not making money anymore.
Yeah, but but you know what I mean is like the tech was the place where it was your meal ticket. Agar wahan
Yeah.
job lag gayi, so you are set for life.
Hmm.
And which is not a bad thing. Everybody has to pursue their thing. But ho kya raha tha ki the bar at which you had to be was actually not that high because we were just beginning. Ab kya ho gaya hai ki like if you are just basically programming, if you're right out of college and the only thing you learned is how to program, or if you got some training where you just know some APIs and things like that, and that is what your value add is, well, that is going away because this thing will do it faster than you and makes the other person even better because it will make fewer mistakes. It will not complain about the tedious job it has to do and all that. But सबसे बढ़िया क्या हो रहा है? This is just a idea forming in my head, and I have to kind of like think through. But I think what is being valued now going forward is what I'll say the lived experience. AI is not living, at least not yet, right? Because it's not captured. It hasn't had its own experience. Like there's a human feedback and all that, but there's logs of what has been done to it. But जो software writer hai, has had a lived experience of what writing software means, or has a lived experience of what problem I'm trying to solve, then this is a great tool for them to apply that lived experience. This is the example. If we completely leave software and go to the doctor, this is the expertise angle, right? Agar aap ye chatbot kar lo and everything is there and this person is the world's best, I don't know, liver doctor, which is fine. But a doctor's lived experience is, or patient dekh ke bolta hai ki there's something not right about you, right? This thing is not there yet, and it will keep happening. So the thing is that the lived experience still is valuable. And I think the same thing applies in software. And I would suggest that it means that anybody who relies purely on their technical skills has to start thinking a little bit more about what's happening in the world and how is their software helping. Then quickly, the minute they do that, they'll realize that this thing is a great tool for them to address that problem.
So I think this is very important. I think let's further break it down. First of all, if you're a software engineer just starting your career, should you be worried that number of software engineer jobs in the world may shrink or already shrinking?
I don't know if the number of jobs will shrink, but if your core skill coming out of the thing is I learned software, that is not enough. But I think the onus is also on the schools to teach other things. Like one of the proposals which I was making to one of the IITs was like have in the final year a double quarter elective, which is all about like, you learned coding, but what about the real world? Abhi kya hota hai ki they come into the real world and then the industry takes the onus of training them. And that is why you'll see the industry will not be willing to hire them. They're like, nee, the software does the job, right? But if the universities actually are bringing out people who understand where the user problem is, how do you build a scalable thing? So no longer just code generation, right? Now we're getting into the domain part of the problem. And if they actually get into domain part, then all of a sudden the person who comes out says, I know how to build a scalable solution. I know how to spot problems. I know like series of things which senior software engineers and people above that do.
But the domain part is also in some ways also levels the playing field in this whole term that is very popular now, vibe coding, application like Loveables and so on. So in the past, maybe I did not learn the programming language, etc., because I'm interested in history, economics, creative thinking. But now I can, because I can go out, I can talk to people, learn about domain, and come back and have my LLM, do the coding for me. Then there's no difference between you, the software engineer, and me,
And that is fantastic, right? Because the thing is, this is why I said the lived experience part. You are taking your lived experience to say, I see you are living, and you say, this is what I identified. Well, why should a software engineer rest on their technical skills and say, I don't have to worry about that? Well, then you are at a disadvantage.
पहले software engineer बोलता है कि मेरे को requirement लाके दे दो. Like मेरे को बता दो क्या करना है. And the someone else, dirty job of going out there, talking to customers and writing specs and so.
And that worked at that time because उस समय क्या था कि to program this machine was so hard. अब क्या है, English is the programming language. तो अगर आप समझ गए क्या करना है, then you don't need this person. Which also means these engineers can reinvent themselves.
Very soon Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, everything.
हाँ, मतलब वही, like a natural language is the programming language, right? Exactly. Actually, vibe coding पे एक interesting है, since we talked about my LinkedIn post. So last December, and this is actually before the vibe coding term got popularized by Andre Karpathy.
Why don't you first explain also? Maybe people are hearing for the first time. I know it's popular, but maybe क्या होता है vibe
हाँ, तो
coding?
क्या होता है कि like basically, and मैं December में बताता हूँ हुआ क्या था मेरे साथ, and then I posted and I'll tell you this like finding, उसमें explain करो. So because these systems can generate code, तो around December Christmas time घर में बैठा था. So I wanted to figure out कुछ problem था. Okay, साल में कितना पैसा खर्चा हुआ. I got all my bank statements and it is always tedious because you have to figure out कि ये customer ये credit card ने ये बोला है, इसे कौन सा merchant है, all that. So I'm just sitting there and I'm looking at cursor. तो मैंने कहा कि मैं कोड नहीं लिखूंगा. मैं cursor को बोलूंगा मुझे क्या करना है and you keep doing. तो वो बेचारा करता रहा.
बेचारा.
It was just listening to me. So it had no will of its own. The agent part had just come out, or I had just started using agent वाला. अभी तो काफी sophisticated हो गया है. This is how fast things move, right? Just 5 months ago. But I kept saying, and it kept doing. But I did not write a single line of code for almost 4 days. And it kept writing what I said. And I kept testing. And I was like, nahi hai. I did some more things. This is where the domain matters and expertise used to matter at that time because it would make mistakes. Then I would go to a prior checkpoint and I know कि अच्छा वहाँ ठीक चल रहा था. But overall, I was just sitting back and it was doing the work. And in the end, it ran. So मैं LinkedIn post में मैंने कहा कि software engineering का job चला गया. अब software engineering managers का job आ गया है. Like you have to really manage this thing. So वही है vibe coding कि आपका vibe है, आराम से आप बैठे हुए, you're like enjoying the ambience and the environment and the mood you are in, and you're just talking, like because speech recognition भी है, you're just talking to the model saying कि अच्छा ये करो, अच्छा ठीक है कर रहे हैं, that राजसी ठाटबाट के साथ
पहले दुकान पे गए लोग बोलते हैं और दिखाओ
तो यहाँ तो एक्चुअली ये आपका काम कर रहा है एंड वो जो कर रहा है, इट्स इफ यू डोंट लाइक इट So like that ki nahi change it.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think it's becoming very real. I think in my last company CureFit, so I think the next few days a hackathon is planned, but this time the entire hackathon is on the vibe coding infrastructure. And so a lot of people who are outside engine team, they are supposed to contribute significantly and they're doing some workshop, etc. But I think it's becoming quite real. And if you extrapolate, few years out, I mean, if we really believe, which I do, that the exponential pace of, growth here, I mean, software maybe 80-90% automated in next 12 to 24 months.
I think the way it is currently, it could be, but I think there might be new things. जैसे अभी हम लोग देख रहे हैं, like even just in the AI world, right? Like ये foundational models का chat interface हुआ करता था, उस पे API था, and you would like go talk. That's what Cursor, for example, was doing. But I mean, now you see that there are like these agents. Each one of them is talking to a bunch of things outside in the world through, let's say, MCP kind of protocol. ये agents आपस में भी बात कर रहे हैं. They're connected, like there are orchestrations, things like LangGraph and all. There are companies which are coming up with like agencies, open source consortium. These agents, when they're talking to each other, think authentication कौन कर रहा है, इनकी discovery कौन कर रहा है. All of these things are coming up, and they're all software. So I think it just moves the needle. मैं कभी सोचता हूँ कि like long time ago, जब at least when the first time I used the internet, I was in Kharagpur. So it was a telnet into a chat bot in Stanford.
Links वाला.
Links से भी पहले वो telnet था.
Telnet, okay.
लिंक्स तो फिर था, तो टेलनेट किया करते थे और लग रहा था कि अरे क्या कम्युनिकेशन हो रहा है. But 20 years later, I'm sitting on a beach with my phone in my hand watching Netflix. Right? It's all the same TCP/IP protocol which has evolved to do that. So I think that the software keeps evolving, and I hope that it will happen. there are enough. I'm an optimist. Ki there is enough things humans will dream up, and we'll go build the software. तो ये जो अभी जो boiler plate, अधिकतर चीजें boiler plate ये सब हो रही है.
But coming back to Piyush, I think the job loss, I think scenario is very real. I think it's say historically, I mean, we are all obviously huge technology enthusiasts, huge beneficiary of technology and all of that, and world has also benefited from it. And in the past, narrative was that whenever a new technology comes, old set of jobs are disrupted, but even more newer set of jobs get created. Hence, the global prosperity keeps going up. This is the only time it seems fundamentally different. For what you said, we are able to now add cognition inside any system, which was not possible before. If possible, you can just write a lot of code; it will just do one thing. The way it is coded, it will deal with that. But these things are now can decide. They can take decisions based on the input and what they're observing. And that is fundamentally changing things, especially that a lot of jobs are low skill, low cognitive load. A lot of people are not even graduates and so on. So that is something that's people need to start worrying about, or maybe I'm building a plan for.
So I am actually a contrarian optimist in this situation. I mean, all the things you said are accurate, but I feel like it'll unfold in a different way. So maybe I can say keep back and so that, and we can figure out who knows kya hoga, but like we can debate it. So do teen cheezein. One you talked about the people who are unskilled, their jobs. The other thing you talked about is the intelligence being built inside the system. It also impacts white collar jobs.
Yeah.
Right. So agar software job hi le lein, which is a very white collar job and very cerebral at times. Mere hisab se the basic premise in the white collar job is, to me, कि time is the one thing you cannot buy more. तो अभी क्या हो रहा है कि there are jobs people are doing which are consuming time but have less productivity for them. जैसे refactoring the code, migrating from version 2 to version 3. ये सब चीजें लोग कर रहे हैं, and they're not happy about it. And that is consuming society's time. अगर ये चीज automatically हो रही है तो वो free हो गए. अच्छा, then when they're free हो गए, उनका क्या है कि if they realize कि now I can reinvent myself and how do I move up, तो ठीक है. Now society becomes more productive. Those people will be rewarded. And the ones who say कि this was my skill, this is what my purpose of life is, then yes, that is actually going to hurt. So then the purpose becomes that how do you help people reinvent themselves? And that is the problem to be. But I think that the actual fundamental thing is that people became more productive because the more tedious things will be the first place where we will put this.
Yeah.
Right? We will put this in tedious things, and refactoring the code is a great example. कि ये बहुत पुराना code है, people are like every day it goes hits fire, and if you look at Claude code or if you look at ChatGPT का जो codex है or Jules जो भी है, like their main thing is कि okay, point me at a code base and I will look at all the places where there is issues and I will try to send you a pull request.
Yeah.
तो आप उसको कुछ करना भी नहीं है. This now is the software engineer who you freed up. You can deploy them elsewhere, or if you cannot deploy them, well, hopefully the society deploys them elsewhere, because the thinking is that the limit of things which we can do as humans is limited.
So this productivity potential is clear. So is the implication for pretty much any knowledge worker out there ki start using GPT or any other LLMs very proactively and see how you can eliminate efficiency in your today's work, because if you don't, someone else might eliminate your job.
Oh, absolutely. And this will also happen at company levels. Like imagine 2 startups are starting today and one of them is trying to do this and the other is trying to hire 40 people. I think that the first one will win. Now, as a society, hopefully, like imagine if it is a 10 to 40 ratio, as a society, hopefully, there are 4 startups which get started so that you don't have a group of 40 doing something which a group of 10 can do. Agar wo nahi hua, to obviously 30 people will be out of a job. But you don't want that artificial protectionist kind of approach. You want the 4 startups.
Yeah. You spend majority of your time in Silicon Valley, so you're probably absorbing the whole atmosphere, excitement, around this. This whole AI movement for the world, has it also accelerated entrepreneurship and more startups? Are there a lot more people starting companies last 12 months compared to, let's say, any previous time?
I do think that the pace of pace of realizing the idea has gone through the roof. Like the number of companies which are taking something and showing something which actually works, has gone through the roof. Yes. The other thing which also I see that a lot more people who are not technical, because there used to be this thing earlier, who's my technical co-founder kind of thing. A lot of people who are actually, going back to your point earlier, they are now entering, and I am actually very positive about it because they're domain experts. I recently invested in a company which is just 2 doctors, and they're building an online clinic. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, great. You understand this business. You will find the people who will go do things. And there's a lot more. I think it is such a nice thing because it enables that spirit of entrepreneurialism in a lot more people, even if they're not from the field, not from the field of software. And that means we will get much better things.
So we should expect a lot more innovation and, just...
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I feel कि उसमें बहुत सारे मर भी जाएंगे.
Obviously.
Right. So we will see a lot more,
as long as the top is increasing, and people are, but most people in some ways kind of bridging the gap between real world problem and what LLMs can do. I guess that's where majority of the startups are.
Yeah.
And maybe your doctor example is very illustrative because these guys understand domain. They're probably very well connected in that space and so on. And LLM is going to provide the rest so that it's a good combination for build something unique. Yeah,
but I will tell you, like, this is where I was asking you, how will these companies, where's the business? Because while these people are coming up, I am actually wondering what it will take to build the business. I'll give you a simple example. I saw, I think 6 months ago or something, some app came out. We will help you track your meals. MyFitnessPal used to be the leader. Usko over Under Armour ne usko kharid liya tha. So they said, okay, scan, computer vision is there and everything is there. We'll handle, you can have all your macros. I was thinking yesterday I should track my protein. So I was like, app ka naam kya, app ka naam kya? And I'm like, why? I just put a shortcut to a Gemini chat which I created with the right prompt. And now it is fantastic. Better than an app. क्योंकि मैं बोलता हूँ, मैं कल भूल गया बताना कि डिनर में मैंने फिश खाई थी. It goes and updates the last day's dinner and asks कि आज क्या खाया, right? Or sometimes they take a picture of an omelette and send it, or sometimes they say exactly that, and it is actually always. And I know in the end, if I'll say, okay, create a monthly report for me, it'll do that. And I'm like, there was no app created, nothing, and I wonder what about that. So to me, distribution actually is probably the only thing which saves that. So I feel like there will be a lot of startups which will have that challenge. I don't know what the answer is, but the bar is definitely being raised. I mean, one is maybe we don't know the playbook yet, but a lot more people are empowered to at least attempt to build something. Yeah. And if they're bringing some unique angle about the market, domain, customers, they probably have a shot. At least they have a lot more tools at their disposal. Like to your point about building something quickly on the platform like Loveable and all that, build a full app. It just, I don't know if people have listening to this, have they tried or not, but it's first time when you create an app using Loveable. I don't know if you have tried or not. Yeah, I've tried Loveable. Quite magical. You want to share your experience? How does it? Well, I was there was an app which I was trying to figure out कि इसका design कैसे होगा. And then I thought, because design, my interaction design is also there, right? More than visual only. So I didn't deploy it. The level you create, and then it can be a public thing over there, or you can deploy it somewhere. So because I was just doing that, I didn't deploy it. So I don't know the production readiness. But I explained everything. And then it created this app. And then I could go and change it. And then I knew this is exactly the interaction I want. Yeah. And the fact that I was just sitting on my desk and doing this, and I'm not a designer person, I was able to do that, made me feel really good and empowered. This goes back to the thing, like it'll bring more empowerment to more people outside. And actually, I don't know, I feel very positive. I feel like there is always going to be more problems. Technology will solve it. Just example, AI, we worry about the job loss and these agents. But आप company में deploy करोगे तो भाई agent manage कौन करेगा, right? Now there is a software needed for that. It's really your HR department where your workday for your agents, right? And somebody has to build that, right? So the workday of the past, workday of the future. Is it like there'll be a series of these kind of things which continuously will be there. What is your security team now? right? The physical security, now agent security. So I think the software has to keep.
Workday for agents will not have any leave policy. These agents will work 24/7. I was like, recently, just going to this whole job and AI theme, right? Jensen Huang recently said, you won't lose your job to AI, but to someone using AI.
Yes.
That goes to a point that, it's anyone working in a corporate has to start using and has to keep asking, what can I do better or different or something new that I was not able to do in the past? Otherwise, you are a sitting duck and waiting for efficiency to catch up.
Yeah, I think the analogy to me would be like, imagine you had a job of an accountant and you refused to use the calculator, right? And everybody else was using calculator and spreadsheets. But you're like, I'm a purist. मैं तो हाथ से ही करता हूँ, दिमाग में ही करता हूँ. Well, guess what? You will lose your job at some point just because it's not efficient. So if you think of these systems, they are like a cognition calculator. They are able to recognize things. And agar aap usko, and if your job is about applying your brain, and you're like, मैं तो अपना ही use करूँगा, I'll not take any assistance from anybody, then the problem is you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. Nobody's saying don't apply your brain. If you only use this, then yes, you have a problem. Like, you should actually go for a hike, not just sit in the chair and drive around. But in this case, absolutely what he has said to me is like, why would you not use the thing, the edge given to you?
Do you think...
just go tackle bigger problems.
You are, you've been involved in hiring for the longest period of time. Abhi, aaj ki tarikh mein, when you are interviewing, are you looking for different things, or you're still evaluating same set of skills and so on that you were doing in the past?
I think the two, it's a very interesting question you're asking. I think that the two different things. One is not looking for as many people, right? I'm actually, just recently we were talking, somebody in Meraki wanted a person. And I said no. And I said, tell me what problem you're trying to solve. And he said that here is the set of problems. I sat down with him and taught him how to use O3 as a model to get all of those things done.
What were some of those things?
There was a lot of research on working with experts on figuring things out. And my point was, yes, you can go to any of the experts, but why would you not go to somebody who can actually do deep research and bring all the experts together? You don't have to trust this, but use this as your starting point instead of a person as a starting point. And then see how far you can build your understanding. Eventually, you have to build the understanding. This person was trying to, build a thesis for a product we have. So it was like, I said, go do this. And there were 15 very good questions. But the point was, those 15 very good questions, that person was able to get answers in 2 days. There is no way an expert would have given that quality of answer today. So first of all, not hiring as many, right? Dusra, the people who are hiring, this is the biggest difference which I'm seeing, which is very unfortunate. I don't know how future will be, but I don't think I need people in the middle as much anymore. Very high quality AI native people coming in. So I don't think the people out of college will not get jobs. But if you're an AI native person who can actually operate, know your skill, right? Now all of a sudden you are better than what my time, like what I was coming out of college, right? So wo cheez jo hai na, high energy, come get stuff done. Those people. And then really at the top, okay, you can look at entire aspect of the business, understand where the issues are and all that, and go run independently. And not the middle thing, the example you talked about, beech mein, that thing is there. Not really.
And what does this mean for, let's say, people who are just entering college now, who have 4 years of college ahead of them? Because I think, even I'll just share a small anecdote. One of my niece is going to college this year, and she sent me a message a couple of weeks ago कि मेरे को एक जगह कंप्यूटर साइंस मिल रहा है और एक जगह कोई AI LLM वाला कोर्स है. So I thought a bit about it, and then I realized कंप्यूटर साइंस का जो भी पहले पढ़ते थे, डेटाबेस, कंपाइलर, ये सब तो आउटडेटेड है. उसकी क्या जरूरत होगी? So I said go do the AI LLM course. But and the people who are going to college now, unka graduation is still 4 years away. What should they focus on over next 3-4 years? Because I think college mostly is going to be outdated. Will not be able to keep up with what is going, because unka to purana 20-30 साल पुराना जो curriculum वो चलता रहेगा first.
Actually, that is the failure mode. अगर वैसा हुआ तो
कॉलेज
Right.
में तो हो गए ना, कितने कॉलेज है ना, दे टेक टाइम, इट्स अ वेरी स्लो मूविंग सिस्टम.
हाँ नहीं, आई एग्री विथ यू कि दिस इज वाई पता नहीं 3 साल में क्या होगा. आई मीन वी डोंट नो. बट अगर उस कॉलेज जिस कॉलेज में जा रही है, इफ दैट कॉलेज हैज डन AI/LLM कोर्स एंड इट इज अ रोबस्ट कोर्स, not just like 2 electives about prompt engineering, but it's actually a robust course of the fundamentals why it is, and the person comes out understanding what it is, then there's no reason why they will not be working on the frontier of the problems which are in that space.
Yeah.
तो वो तो बहुत बढ़िया है, because this thing is not going away. It's going to take
Yeah.
over the world. It's like an industrial revolution kind of thing, right? तो वो तो बहुत जरूरी है. But if a college doesn't do that,
Still. But even other, let's say, economics major, history major, all these different, anyone's interested in humanities or electrical engineering, or I would like to imagine that education has to be different in the next 4 years. It cannot be like, what it was before.
I hope so. I mean, education, the way it is right now, has been from, I guess, the days of papyrus, right? कि सब लिखा हुआ है और आप गुरुकुल में बैठे हुए हैं, teacher is saying, and those are small classes, and now the books are still there and the classes have become thousands of people, but obviously a lot more has changed. So I hope that it is very different. Like at least one of the thesis which we are working on, right, which is like, okay, can you get people to learn better without having to ratify so much, right? The kids today, it takes them so much to learn something in physics, chemistry, math, but एक video game पकड़ा दो 2 मिनट उनको समझ में आता है कैसे खेलना है. Well, why? Right? क्या psychology है कि the thing is, and or bachas, like, they don't have to learn. Like, you give them something, they'll keep trying and they'll keep failing and then they'll figure it out. So maybe the way education should be different. I don't know how it will apply to something like history. Maybe it could. I'm a big fan of how, like, for example, Harvard Business School kind of things, like case study based stuff as opposed to theory based stuff education. So, maybe there are things like that which AI can enable. Maybe the way the universities are away, maybe that disassembles, unbundles itself. Like AI/LLM is an unbundling of the computer science stream.
Yeah. One is, I think the students can, to a large extent, take control of their own education.
Yeah.
Because even for history major, you can go way beyond the curriculum. You can have any conversation with LLM, including history rap, if that's how you're going to learn. But you can go outside the box and really learn about a different perspective about something that happened before or how it is analyzed, different ways looking at things. But yeah, which I think LLMs can teach history better than anything else today. It's just a matter of, whether college is enabling or student is enabling for himself or herself. But it's
Yeah, I actually think absolutely. Like, the main 2-3 problems hai. One problem is that you don't know what you don't know because you're a student. So somebody has to take you to the places where you cannot, because LLMs these days, or at least the current incarnation of these chatbots, is that they are in your service. You ask something and they will tell you. So usme it's great. Any content you want, you say, tell me about Alexander the Great, and it'll tell you all, and you can keep asking, yahan kya hua, wahan kya hua, it'll tell you everything. But the fact that you ask about Alexander the Great, wo kahan se aaya, right? So there is that. So usme thoda sa ye hai. I think the other thing which is fascinating about these LLMs is that they have to crack the other challenge. People many times don't want to learn things. They're very intellectually, not everybody, like the entire society is built now, not everybody is intellectually curious. Like majority of the classroom is intellectually lazy. they are forced to sit there, honestly, right? कि हाँ, क्योंकि society demands कि college graduate करो, नहीं job नहीं मिलेगा, शादी नहीं होगी, there are 100 things. So they're just sitting there, they're hanging out with their friends, canteen में जाके चाय पी रहे हैं, सुट्टा पी रहे हैं, like all that stuff is college life. I mean, you watch a movie, how much of the time shows in the classroom, rest of it is all outside, right? So if that is the case, then how does LLM help you, right? Overcome that curiosity? And it might never, but if it does, then it is a better place than the university.
Yeah, speaking of shadi nahi hogi, it's I think someone was spent time with OpenAI recently. So India has a huge number of users for OpenAI. But a lot of youngsters are basically talking to LM as if, they're my boyfriend, girlfriend. And is it like most understanding, willing to do whatever is required to, make you happy. And huge amount of time being spent on those conversations, Does that worry you?
I mean, it does worry me for a very big reason. If this is going back. Actually, I have used not to make it my.
What are you going to say now?
Okay. Yeah, I will tell you. So let's keep that in suspense. I'll tell you how I have used it in something similar.
I asked about people using AI as a girlfriend, and Peeyush is saying I have used. So.
I have used. I will tell you how. It actually was very positive. But in this case,
getting better.
Yeah. No. If you, I know how to build suspense for those things. In this case, if that is what is helping you overcome and make you a better person, because we all go through our awkwardness in our life and all that, makes you a better person in society, helps you achieve your goals better. Why not? This is the thing. But if that becomes a replacement, then that's a mirage. There is nothing on the other side of it, right? And I don't see how it is different than doing a drug, right? So I would say that it depends on what it is. Now, to clarify what I've used it for, this goes back to the expertise challenge. So when, I've worked for Google for a long, long time. And there was a time when I had, recently, I had to make a decision that, do I just leave Google? And there were options to take specific jobs. I'd come back from a sabbatical. There were options to take specific jobs, and nothing was appealing. And what I wanted to do was not, easily possible. So I was thinking, I'll do something. I've given a lot of my career to one company, but it is not easy. But I didn't know who can help me, who can understand what I'm like. Maybe my spouse, but there is a little bit of her own thinking, okay, let him be happy. So whatever she felt like will make me happy, okay, theek hai, main bol dungi. But that's not the thing. I wanted some tough conversation. So I wrote up a very detailed prompt and I gave that into Claude. Actually, I tried the other two, but I gave into Claude, did the best. And I had 3 days of conversation with it. And it gave me a framing to how to think about how I want to spend my time, given the problems I wanted to work with, the insecurity of leaving Google is a fantastic place to work. And so despite at its size, I haven't seen a company better than that. But okay. And I became convinced that, okay, I'm making the right decision. And I feel like there was no person, this goes back to maybe the expertise point, which we started with. There was no person available to me who would have been as personalized and talking to me and do that.
Yeah.
But, that was a very acute thing, which I looked at and did it. But if you talk about the kids,
there's, I'm hearing, a lot of, especially, teenagers, any decision they have to take, they will first ask GPT. And even, aaj mummy ne ye bola, should I be upset? Should I be worried? And pretty much, and this whole history is building up. I'll give another example, which is, which is, both funny as well as also testament to how powerful these models are becoming. Somebody posted this video, I think, which went somewhat viral, is India पहले घर में तरबूज आते थे, तो तरबूज पे एटलीस्ट पापा वगैरह पता होता है कि वो ऐसे मार के देखते थे कि वो अंदर से वो अच्छा निकलेगा कि नहीं. So one guy takes this GPT to this तरबूज वाला shop and say कि मेरे को help me figure out what is the best तरबूज. और वो साउंड सुना रहा था. And GPT said कि you are a low. उसको काट के देखा, बहुत बढ़िया निकला. It's like, so well, maybe rightly so people should be dependent on this. But then there is, that whole danger addiction.
I think it's like just knowing कि कहाँ पे वो line है, right? Using it for the right purpose. I think this is a great example. Now, if the person really wanted, I think they should also try to understand, maybe ask that, why did he choose this one? Right? Not that they have to stop using it in the future, but build that understanding कि हुआ क्या यहाँ.
Hopefully LLM hallucinate करेगी. मैं भी बचपन में ये करता.
That is very likely बोलेगा नहीं मैंने ऐसे बहुत खाए हैं तरबूज ऐसे वाले बेटर होते हैं. But वो चीज जरूरी है कि engage rather than use the thing. But yes, वो कहना आसान है, but again, going back to it, like majority of the society, it is unfortunately like character.ai was the fastest growing consumer app, and it was in AI world, and it was about like these characters which you go interact with. They could be your personal trainer, they could be your therapist, they could be your AI girlfriend. Right? And any of these could be, and some of them, like, okay, if you get a personal trainer, maybe that's a good thing if you follow up on the advice. AI girlfriend, maybe depending on what the situation is.
The boyfriend also.
But I was looking for the. Yeah, so
You gave up too much. So
no. I was not. I meant like
this episode is going to be hit because of those 30 seconds.
I actually was saying that the things which you could use there, like sure, like imagine if you're a like majority of the guys who would look at this, they would just interact with it. But if you are just interacting, forget about it, it's a toy in game, then that's fine. But if that becomes your way to soothe yourself because you don't know how to go and interact with people in real world, or like you hate rejection and things like that. Well, you have to go build that muscle. It's part of growing up, but you're not growing up if you do this.
And Peeyush, you are inside Google, you are like in the Silicon Valley where people are making all kind of an outlandish claims about how much better this will get. And if last 18 months are anything to go by, maybe those claims are also not outlandish enough. How are you what do you think about 5 years? What's a good mentor to think about how much more powerful these things can be? Or maybe do they run into some kind of ceiling at some point and give everyone a breather to catch up and take stock of what's going on? Like a lot of people are starting to claim that AGI is on the corner, and like the warnings about the dangers of AI is just getting dire by the day, and so on. People making proclamation only these 2 jobs will survive, those 3 jobs will survive, and so on. Like when you process all of it, how do you come to terms with this?
So I think I don't know the 5 years what thing will be, but there is a very there is the intersection which I am actually very excited about. These LLMs started with a simple X prediction, token prediction models. Then they moved quickly into multimodal. Ab to wahan hai. And one of the hardest problems in robotics used to be planning. And these things with reasoning and all that, they can actually do decent planning. And there are startups which are saying, okay, we'll use the LLM to go do the planning and we'll actuate it in the robotics. Problem there was, of course, that these LLMs understand all the knowledge, but they don't understand the world. But now world models are coming. So world models, this is all that robotics. Now suddenly you have the full ability to reason and plan, and you have the ability to affect it in the real world. So I think there is a huge physical productivity ahead of us.
World models are trained with images, videos. What's the input?
Well, I think this is something which we'll have to get inside the lab to figure out what exactly they're doing. My understanding is that almost all the scalable way to do it is to look at the video to deduce the physics. And videos, if you look at the videos, actually the systems can learn the physics rules. They don't know that these are the rules, they're included, but you can then use those rules to create a simulation environment. Then run on that. Obviously, there are issues here. If you have not learned something, you cannot simulate it, and there are those gaps. I feel like there'll always be like, okay, go collect more tokens from the real world. And I think those are also happening. But this robotics thing will become a great thing from this side. Knowledge is coming in, world understanding is coming in, and the physical capabilities. And I think that will definitely be a big thing in the coming years. Maybe it will be within a year. Who knows, right? So that is a big one. Now, naturally, if you take the expertise angle and if you take the ability to impact the world angle, there are bad things can happen on both of them.
Yeah.
You can always come up with a Black Mirror episode of these robots which are killing everybody, or like somebody who's building a dirty bomb which was impossible to build before, but now it knows how to. So wo sab to hai, and I think government needs to protect its citizens just like every place. There's always debate ki how do you protect? Do you protect by finding the bad actors and stopping them, or stopping everybody so nobody turns into bad actors?
Yeah, I think the whole AI and regulation and strategic autonomy, I think, is a whole different topic, very complex, and probably the governments are just very challenging for them to really understand what's going on, because the pace is just, I've never seen anything like this before. But just on the closing note, Piyush, how are you keeping yourself up to date? It's just, what do you do on a daily basis to feel like I have some idea what's going on? I can use it in my personal life for girlfriend issues, and also in a
I have
professional
no
life.
girlfriend issues.
You said it,
I don't even have wife issues. I love my wife. She's very happy. And I think when she watches
We'll highlight this part.
Yeah, please highlight this part so she understands, that aspect.
But how are you keeping yourself up to date?
And I have actually really, enjoyed learning more things. And I would love for you to also answer this, right? Because I'll tell you my stack, and maybe you can tell your stack. So first thing is that every day things are changing so much that every day devote enough time to see what changed now, right? And for that, there are many ways. Like I have the LLMs tell me, like every day there's a task which runs, says ki aaj ye naya news aaya, ye nayi videos aayi, so jaake dekho. I don't always watch all of them, but then I go into YouTube, then I go to Twitter. Like I like a scour and figure out what are the things I want to learn, and then I spend some time learning about that. Ek to wo hai. The second thing which I regularly do is, especially when I go on a walk or something, and that series of topics I want to understand, I just talk to the LLM. And it's a fantastic experience because
which LLM do you talk to?
Mostly ChatGPT.
In the voice mode.
In the voice mode, yeah. I tweeted about it I think 3 months ago or so. This is the new audiobook. Audiobook thing has gone down for me, because if I have a topic in my mind and I start talking, and then at some point I'll say, okay, look, I don't understand it really well. So why don't you teach me, and then ask me a series of questions to see my level of understanding, and then go back and start teaching. This is how I learn things. And it does a fantastic job of who knows it's hallucinating and teaching me something hallucinated, but I really enjoy. So that's the second thing. This is when I want to go in depth in a series of topics. The first is like a wide thing. There's a depth series of topic. And the third thing I believe is nothing teaches you better than actually going and building it. Yeah. So writing code, building things, which I'm doing every day thanks to now, I'm not managing a big team inside Google or anything. I really.
But do you feel like, you've obviously very accomplished, tech professional. You've been, probably learn all the tools, all the tricks of the trade. Do you feel like it's very important for you to invest that learning time now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's just very important, and I feel I'm lucky that I enjoy it also. Ki kuch naya seekha. I think if my happy place would be to just keep learning new things. So it works very well.
I'll share what I do. Yeah, but since you mentioned you talk to GPT, and maybe we'll bring one question from GPT. Let's try. Let's see how well it works. So I'm going to ask GPT to help me ask you a question. Hi, GPT. Can you hear me?
Hey, Mukesh. Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
What's up?
Right now, I am shooting a podcast with Peeyush Ranjan, who was at Google before. We're just wrapping up the podcast. But I would like to ask an interesting question to Peeyush. So if you can look up his background and tell me something interesting, or you can ask him directly, actually. He is able to hear you.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, Peeyush. Great to have you here.
Hi.
Since you've got a cool background with Google, maybe you could share a fun or surprising experience from your time there? Something that really stood out, or a lesson that stuck with you?
No, I don't want to ask that question. Can you do better? Do you know anything about Peeyush? Can you ask something which is more relevant to the work he has done?
Thanks for that. Peeyush, given your leadership roles at Google and Flipkart, what do you think is the most critical element in driving innovation within a tech team?
You want to answer that, or you want her to try better?
These are easy questions. I can answer them all.
That's the spirit. All right, Peeyush, if you could pick one standout moment or project that really defined your journey at Google, what would it be? We'd love to hear a highlight.
Yeah, I think these are very templatized questions. I thought you can ask something like, more insights.
Ask me something nobody has asked me before.
Got it. Let's mix it up a bit. Peeyush, what's something you learned at Google that completely changed the way you approach your work or life now, but rarely comes up in interviews? Something off the beaten path that people might not expect.
Yeah, let's do this. Piyush was mentioning there is this whole history rap that's quite popular among kids. Can you maybe look up and share or make up history rap about the years when India gained its independence in 40s?
Oh, that sounds like fun. Let's drop a quick history rap about India's independence in the 40s. In 1947, India broke free. After years of struggle, they claimed their destiny. From Gandhi's nonviolence to Nehru's dream, they stood united, a powerful team. On August 15th, they raised the flag high. Independence won under the bright sky. From struggle to freedom, the nation arose. A new chapter in history the whole world knows. How's that for a start?
That's amazing. Thank you. Okay, so I think we'll probably stop right now. I'll go back to my podcast. Thank you. What do you think?
I think it could have done better.
Yeah, do you think Jamne would have done better?
No, I don't think it would have done better. But I think the topic where I have found it really work is where I'm trying to learn something, because then it is leveraging the LLM's knowledge.
I think I'm going to shoot one podcast with just GPT.
It'll be fun.
But how? But if it asks like these templatized questions or this kind of cookie cutter things, that's not going to. That's not showing the power of what these things can do.
Yeah, no, but I think if you pick a technical topic, like let's say you do it on quantum physics, right? Like, hey, I'm learning quantum physics, and put it there and start talking to it. It'll actually give factual answers. And you say, but I don't understand this. Like, what actually happened here? It actually will be like a quantum physics expert sitting next to you, and that will, I think, work better.
Cool, amazing. I think Piyush is good to cover the I think
your learning stack.
My learning stack, yeah. I think it's been phases. So I think about 18 months ago, in the past, my go-to model of learning anything is to read about 10 books on a topic. So which I did. I looked up all the interesting books on AI, and from I would say January till April, May, I did that. After some point, I started getting a sense that I'm just reading about a commentary people are doing, but I'm not getting a technical sense of how this thing works. So then I started learning, prompt engineering, and I got somebody to help me to be able to make these API calls, build small agents thing. And with that, I was able to develop appreciation for, how at the time, diffusion, I did some work with diffusion model for image generation and with LLMs, and got a sense of the APIs are actually pretty simple. It's not, it boils down to what you're feeding into it as input, through prompts, etc. And so that was the kind of second phase. And now, and then afterwards, I started to read some papers, etc. as well. Right now, just heavy use. So I've been actually, I know it's interesting you mentioned quantum, quantum mechanics. I've been learning physics for the last 12 months. And slowly, my go-to tool has become GPT. I spend whenever I get time, sometime, hour, 2 hour, and it is able to create such detailed, organized lessons and able to tailor it to my pace, my able to learn, and so on is incredible. I mean, I don't think I could have attempted to learn physics seriously without a tool like this. And that gives me a lot of appreciation for both what these models can do and also how fast they're evolving. Because I know what answer they're giving me 3 months ago versus what they are able to do now. And that just, just watching that pace of progress is just staggering. And of course, both you and I are working with AI startups. So I think that's probably the biggest source of learning is that.
Actually, it just gave me a thought based on what you were saying and what earlier. Maybe the universities will get disrupted.
Yeah.
The education, because the one other thing which the universities offer is okay, you have to come in and you have to study. So the motivation part gets taken care of. But one could build a new university, which is mostly powered through things like these, and not worry about self-motivation being the way to enroll. But even if you're motivated, this is a better way you get educated. And I think there is a chance.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that. And the idea of university also, you can learn about anything, anytime. In fact, maybe on the closing note, I'd like to leave listeners with that thought of, if there's something you wanted to learn all along, give this a shot, go to your favorite model and just ask it to create a curriculum. You can revise it and then just go one topic at a time at any level of depth you want to go to. I think if you have not tried it, you will be extremely pleasantly surprised. And it can also give you quizzes. It can create a problem set for you to solve. It can grade. It can give motivation.
Actually, but the best tool for learning I have found, like if you want to learn about any topic, is Notebook LM. You go into Notebook LM and it will you say, okay, these are things I want to learn about. And if you have specific things, it will do an amazing job. It is designed for you to kind of go deeper in a topic and learn. So I think it's very good.
Outstanding. Thanks, Peeyush. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure to talk
Great
to you.
conversation.
Yeah.
At SparX, we aim to bring to you stories of exponential impact. We share in-depth analysis of what goes behind success stories. If you find our conversations interesting, you can join us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to SparX on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or any other audio platform of your choice. If you have any suggestions on who we should invite or what topics we need to cover, just let us know in the comments. We are always listening, looking for ways to improve, and keep getting better as we go along.